What's up, guys? Welcome back to Range Logic. Today we have an exciting video. We're going to break down some concealed carry considerations. We're going to go through some different pistols, holsters, weapon lights, and why you might choose certain things and what's going to work best for you depending on your own situation. So we have 4 different pistols, some with lights, some without lights, different holsters, appendix, some 3 or 4 o'clock carry holsters. We're going to break them each down. I'll demonstrate how they conceal with just a basic t-shirt on, and then we'll get to some shooting a little bit later and see how they work as far as drawing from concealment and see what you guys think. All right, guys, first pistol we're going to break down is my Glock 17 Gen 4. You guys saw this in a previous video. This is my holster of choice for that particular firearm. This is a Tier 1 concealment appendix carry set up with the Surefire X300 and a spare magazine. So this firearm, we will confirm that it is completely unloaded. Easily mounts inside of this holster, and then this is where your belt's going to go, and this little claw here is going to keep tension and push the gun in towards your body to make this part of the handle conceal a little bit easier. Give me 2 seconds, I'll throw this on and I'll show you guys what I'm talking about. All right, guys, we got the holster on. Fits nice, belt nice and tight. You want to make sure you have a sturdy belt. I'm using an Aries gear belt. It's made out of webbing, super rigid, super thick, so the holster doesn't want to fall forward. So this is just wearing a t-shirt, nothing crazy. It's pretty low profile, especially considering this is a full-size pistol. With this holster too, because the end is open, you can actually carry a 34, so you can carry a larger pistol as well. So if you bought the holster for like a 19, you could fit the 17 in it, no problem. Their holsters, I've been carrying them for years. They are fantastic. Haven't had any issues with them. Their customer service is phenomenal too. I did have one crack. I reached out to them and it was years down the line and they replaced it, no questions asked. So this holster is ideal. If you're going to be doing a lot of bending, it does create a little bit of pressure. However, I've carried this and done all sorts of work, and it actually becomes quite comfortable. It's easy to bend over. The cool part about this is when you go to lean forward, if you were grocery shopping and you go to grab something down on the shelf, your pistol's not sticking out back here because it's all up front. So it's a lot easier. And you don't want to be walking around and your gun's poking out and just attracting unwanted attention. So from here to draw this, there's a couple different ways you could do it. Some people grab from the bottom of the shirt. Some grab from here and pull up. You can kind of play around with it and see what you like. I like coming up from the bottom, but with that being said, you could accidentally snag the clips of the holster when you go to draw, and that's going to really hurt your finger. So depending on what kind of holster you go with, what clips, you might want to actually grab from here and draw your pistol. So we'll break that down here and see what that looks like. So the first thing you're going to want to do is make sure this garment is cleared, whether you go underneath and scoop or you grab from the center and pull up. If you grab from the center, you want to make sure you pull up high enough to clear that gun, get a good grip, draw straight up, and right here you're going to want to start turning that gun out. Grab your support hand on the way out. And now you should be right on target, ready to engage. Never, ever be in a hurry to reholster when you're in concealment if you were ever in a situation where you had to draw your firearm. Once you've drawn it, take your time. All right, Glock 17, we got some rounds loaded up. We'll see what happens. We're going to clear that garment, grab the firearm, and drive out. All right, and there we go. That was Glock 17, drawing from concealment. This gun is obviously significantly larger. Yes, you have a perfect size purchase, but it is a little bit heavier. I also have the flashlight on it, creates a little bit of drag inside of the holster. All of these holsters are available to purchase with a flashlight or without. So that would be up to you and what you think you're going to encounter and what you're carrying for. If you're going to carry anytime where it's going to be dark, I would definitely recommend a flashlight. You can't defend yourself against something you can't see. So keep that in mind. All right, guys, next up, Glock 26, also known as the baby Glock. It's a very small frame. I prefer to carry this also in the appendix orientation. And also I have a tier 1 concealed holster. You'll notice this one doesn't have the attachment on the side that holds the spare magazine. If you choose to go this route, that's fine, and you can choose to not carry a spare magazine. But if you do want to, you can get yourself one of these. This is just a Black Hawk magazine holder, and you can just slap this on your belt. You can throw the magazine in there, or you could just throw your spare in your back pocket. Just make sure you know where it is. Make sure you practice with the location that you put it in. So this firearm, obviously being significantly smaller, fits in very well, super concealable. I'm going to go ahead and throw it on so you guys can see what that looks like. All right, so we got the Glock 26 on. This is significantly smaller. You'll notice it kind of shifts over to just one side. It doesn't have that magazine portion going over to this side. Personally, I actually find this to be less comfortable than a larger frame gun with the full appendix setup with the spare magazine. You also notice that I've shifted my belt buckle off to one side to allow for the clips to mount there on my belt. So we'll give this one a couple draws. It's going to be the same process. Clear the garment and then draw the pistol and follow up with your support hand. Nice and slow on the reholster. There's never any rush. Whenever you do reholster, even just practicing or training, you want to make sure you look down in that holster, make sure there's no brass, spent casing sitting down there that could conflict with the gun reholstering safely. All right, we got a couple of draws in without ammunition. We're going to go ahead and load it up and get some rounds down range so you guys can see what that one looks like. All right, guys, we got the Glock 26 loaded up, also in the appendix location. Got some rounds in there. Let's see what we can do. That's why we practice. All right, Glock 26, perfect EDC, tiny package. I will say maybe the only downside, I don't think it's a downside, but the only one that I could possibly come up with this gun is that the grip is extremely short. Definitely compared to something like the 43X, where you have a lot more real estate there on that firearm. The only thing that I think it's a downside in is drawing. When you go to pull up with this gun, you have such a tiny purchase to get your hand on that. You got to grab that gun securely before you pull that out. Otherwise, you're going to end up dumping this on the ground. All right, guys. Third one here is going to be a little different. This is my Daniel Defense H9 pistol, 9mm as well. Double stack, 15 round capacity. So similar capacity to a Glock 19, similar size actually as well. It is a little bit thinner. So this one, I have a G-code holster, and it has an aluminum claw instead of the plastic one from tier 1. One single belt clip instead of the two. This one you can carry appendix, or you can kind of carry it off to the side in the 4 o'clock position. Depending on what I'm doing for the day, I will carry in the 4 o'clock if I'm wearing a jacket or I don't plan to do a lot of activities that require me to bend over so that gun does not come sticking out. Pretty good coverage overall. It does suck in there pretty tight. That claw helps keep that gun pushed in, that handle, so it doesn't stick out. So it does work out pretty well. Now, I will say this is a less defendable position. If you were ever into a situation where you had to actually defend yourself, let's say this is a wall behind me and you're up against the wall, it's going to be a hell of a lot harder to draw this gun out from here versus drawing from something on your appendix. So it's definitely something to think about, especially if you're considering concealed carry. You want to think about how can you get to this firearm if you had to, if worst case scenario happened. So when you go to draw this one, we still have to clear this garment. So you can clear single-handed and come down to grab the pistol, or you can come up like this and grab the pistol. And it kind of depends on the situation. This goes back to some things you can't control. If you're in a situation and you're defending yourself with this hand, you're going to have to clear this with one hand. So that's definitely something to practice. Compared to the appendix, it's a little bit easier to just get your one hand underneath your shirt to clear your garment. So we'll do a couple draws, a little bit both ways, and then you guys can compare on speed and efficiency and see what you guys think. All right, let's throw some ammo in this and get some rounds down range. We'll start first with the two-hand draw. So I'm going to clear the garment with my support hand. Then I'm going to grab the pistol and then drive out with both hands together. Then we'll try some guarded single hand draws and see how that kind of works. All right, now we'll try the single and see if that looks any better. All right, Daniel Defense H9. Awesome gun. It was a redesign from the Hudson H9. Daniel Defense purchased the patent on it and redesigned it. I find it extremely fascinating. The barrel, we'll do a deeper dive into this gun later on, but the bore axis on this gun is extremely low compared to your hand, which helps with recoil. It's a very smooth shooting pistol, all aluminum frame. It's heavy, but that means it's smooth. Last but certainly not least, Glock 43X. I have the Surefire TLR7 sub on it with a Hollow Sun 507K. This is one of my dailies. This gun is fantastic. I've upgraded it to have the Shield Arms magazines in it, so the upgraded capacity is now 15 rounds. So this holds as much as a Glock 19, but a tiny package comparatively. It's way thinner. The barrel's a little bit shorter, but I'm not too worried about that, especially in a concealed carry setup. I'm not reaching out to 20, 30, 40 yards. This is concealed carry for a reason. So this one I've also went with the Tier 1 concealed holster, very similar to the Glock 26. It's actually the same exact holster. All right, we got the 43X. It's going to be off to the side, just like the Glock 26. Because of those short belt clips there, I shift everything off to one side and shift my belt buckle off to the other side. It still gives me nice concealment. That claw pushes the handle kind of in there. So again, just a t-shirt. It's extremely concealed, and because it's the 43X, I have a significantly longer grip to grab onto than the 26. So same holster, but now I have a full-size grip on that gun. So it aids in just getting that gun out and getting on target maybe a little bit faster than the Glock 26. We got some ammo loaded up. We're gonna get some rounds down range. So you see I'm clearing that garment first and then presenting. And as I'm bringing that gun up right about here, I'm trying to find that sight picture. So by the time I'm fully extended, I'm able to engage. All right, that's the Glock 43X, one of my all-time favorites. Perfect EDC gun. Love the holster too. Always make sure you guys invest in a quality holster if you're going to be carrying a firearm. Thank you guys so much for stopping by, watching the video. We got a bunch of videos like this coming up, more reviews, more in-depth tips and tricks. Hit the subscribe button, like and share. Thank you guys so much, and we'll see you. All right, guys, first pistol we're going to break down is the Glock. I don't know why I look down. Scratch that. Maybe if I could hit the broadside of a barn. Jeez. Never mind, scratch that out.